All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 10.
We are in the double digits of episodes.
Mm-hmm. And we recently had a near miss of an assassination attempt.
Yes.
An act of subterfuge and intrigue with a bomb. Like
reprehensible treason.
Right. If you think about like what usually is the cloak and dagger kind of stuff there, you think literal cloak and dagger with like poison and stuff.
I mean, they have axes
like
in this world.
Scepters that are actually like bombs that can take out estates and what have you.
You might as well be sure. Except, unfortunately,
no consequences will be divvied out in this case here because burned the place down.
Yes.
So, yeah. Reinhard and Kirchheis survived the whole situation.
Yes, indeed. Although it was a narrow thing because could have gone very badly.
Could have gone really badly.
Kirchheis didn't fully trust his suspicions, which may be foreshadowing for with Oberstein. I'm not sure.
Possibly. We met some new members of the court in general. We got to see some other people like the prince, currently just kind of moving about doing their things and what have you.
And the Baroness Magdalena von Westphal.
Yes. Yes, she had quite the witty tongue about her.
Indeed. And the things that she wanted to do to Kirchheis. Oh boy.
Oh my.
But she also said some things that were a bit interesting. Yeah. So we'll have to watch out for her.
Yeah. Are we focusing Empire or Alliance now? Let's roll the dice. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay, we have some major developments here.
Yep.
We are going back to the Alliance side of things here, and Yang is being used as a political puppet. In some ways, to both sides' favor at different points.
Right.
We ended up meeting Raymond Togliatti, a particular member of the War Party. They're not even like mincing words here with like special names for them. We have the War Party and the Peace Party.
Yep.
Or the pro-War Party and the pro-Peace Party. So this is something that's exciting because with the Isolon Fortress being captured, I would think in a lot of ways that a pro-Peace Party would get a lot of points in their favor to be like, okay, now that we've done this, we don't need to invade. We can just sue for peace now.
But you know
what?
They can finally strike back. They can finally get some revenge for, all the people that died in the attempts to attempts to capture the Isolon Fortress, maybe not, but
basically you get you get them basically getting to showcase how easy it is to flip the sides of the conflict into like a coin.
Yep.
And just be now suddenly the aggressors are the Alliance. Yeah, the Empire is so bad.
Oh, yeah.
The Alliance is so good. Right, yes.
Yeah.
War, it makes things so simple, doesn't it?
It really does, yes. One of the things that I did like that they did this episode is that because while a lot of the things that happen are very extreme, right, because you're talking about a galactic scale conflict. So in order to have things that are of any note really happening, they have to be pretty intense, right? Things like, the place gets bombed, right? Okay. But they also had things like, Yang was just caught up in the web of someone else, and then suddenly their opponents bust into his house and assault him, right? Like, that could have gone very badly. If Jessica wasn't there, it probably would have gone much worse than it did.
Yeah, I don't know if Julian would have been able to shoot them.
Right.
I think they would have backed off, though, the minute the gun was pulled.
And I think that once the security showed up, they wouldn't have just said, oh, it's nothing. They probably would have had to actually have them help out, potentially.
Well, I think what would have happened is, at the very least, this would have gone political in the standpoint that
it would have been public.
This pro-peace movement is so pro-peace that they sent people to attack Yang for merely being patriotic to his country and his people.
It's one of those
sickening.
It is absolutely sickening, and but that kind of stuff is happening on both sides, and of course, when the other guy finds out about it, he's like, no, what we I am so sorry. That was absolutely not supposed to happen. Or was that Jessica?
That was Jessica.
Yes, that's right. But yeah, it's just showing.
I mean, still the other guy. Right. What was his name? Thorndike, James Thorndike. Yeah, he was also very.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Amiable
with that
and yeah, right. And it's one of those things where it's helpful to show that even though there are definitely individuals that are downright vile, right? Like in the case of Trunet, or this other guy that, geez, used the kid. That was just nasty. But it's helpful to show that both sides do things that are wrong, right? Because you're talking about massive groups of people, so there's no one paragon of everything that they do is good and all of that stuff. Yeah.
The point you're trying to make is that essentially, while you have people that have differing viewpoints on things, there are always going to be extremists on both sides that will do vile or controversial things to get what they want done.
Yep.
And it is important to make sure that when you are someone like Yang who's caught in the middle of this, you don't necessarily just swing hard into either extreme, but you try to navigate through the middle. Well, in this case, it's not actually like there's anything good going on in the pro-war party as far as what they're showing. It is not that nuanced when it comes down to it.
That's probably where there's the least nuance in this show right now.
Yes, Trunet and everyone that supports him
are absolute garbage. Yeah,
are pretty bad as far as things go here. Now, with regards to Yang and his situation here, though, we saw a little bit of a flashback here for him to go and explore back to what things were like before Jean died, and this is something that's rather interesting. It didn't make it seem like Yang actually was with Jessica.
Yeah, that's what I was a bit surprised by.
If anything, is that he maybe had the first opportunity because of a coin flip.
Right.
In that, wow, fates were decided on a coin flip. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But also that she would have liked him.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's something where that's strictly what they do just because of the constraints of a single episode, and that the flashback isn't the main focus of the episode. There's all this other stuff that's happening in the present and whatnot. So yeah, you just simplify it to there was maybe something there, but it never was able to be fully explored. Right. And I'm sure
the case.
And I'm sure they got to know each other plenty afterwards. Anyways, it was just not in that context, right?
Sure.
Not in that kind of way.
Yang's other thing that he's kind of dealing with is with his fast celebrity status. It's exhausting to him to have to deal with all these people demanding little things of him here and there. So they're really trying to do a good job of showcasing why he needs naps. He doesn't want to answer tough questions right now. He suspects that those kinds of things would be happening. But the little moment where he's like realizing that, this was a supporter of, Thorndike, and he goes to help him out there. But then also I'm just trying to have some time with Julian. We'll go to a restaurant, and it's it's so casual. And then once the proprietor of the place comes over, is like, hey, we'd like your autograph. These ladies would. Then almost immediately upon doing that, then everything shifts into being a national anthem thing, where it's like, yes, he is in support of all of us here. Give a shout out, 3 cheers for Admiral Yang. And it's like,
because I understand the individuals that are like, could we get your autograph? And that's that's probably something that, it annoyed Yang, right? But okay, whatever. It's a thing. It's easily done, and it's over and done with, right?
Yeah.
But then it's no. This entire place basically now just sees you as this person,
as the champion of
figure,
the champion of their belief system and worldview. Now, what's fascinating here is that Yang, being not really a conscientious objector or anything like that, but being someone who definitely objects in a more subtle way,
right?
But albeit a more subtle way, has to deal with the fact that he is a student of war.
Mm-hmm.
He is someone who has looked into the past to find maybe answers for the future. And it's interesting that while he has all this power, we don't see him taking an active role in wielding it, which means that in some ways he has a lot of doubt regarding his ability to actually change things. He doesn't see himself as being a solution or having the solution. It's more just a guy just trying to figure out his place in this whole thing.
Yep.
And I love that aspect of his character. It's so much more engaging than someone that thinks that they actually can do something about everything.
One of the things that I was kind of wondering if it was going to happen, and I'm really glad that they did it this way, is when the reporters, ambush him at the airport, right?
On the way out.
Yeah, on the way out, right? And they're like, "Oh, what do you think about the explosion?" And he's like, he's very upfront about his opinions on things, right? Yep. It's a blasphemy against the democratic government, right? Yeah. Do you think that the pro-war party did it? Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, I do. And then he goes and leaves, right? He doesn't turn it into something of, yes, so you should do everything you can to, try and.
He answers the questions matter of fact.
Right, he answers the questions matter of factly, and it's just, yep, that's my opinion. You want to know my opinion? There it is. But I'm not here to try and sway your opinion, right? And then, of course, they ask him about the whole thing of Jessica, and he's like, "Oh, wait, what?"
So, Jessica, I think, because this is all happening so early on in the show, I think Jessica will go quite far in the political side of things.
Me too.
I think it will not end well for her.
Me too.
I think that Yang's whole story is one of him fighting to stay out of the involvement of the conflict. But sorry, what did you say?
I see dead people.
Yes, I think that a part of his journey will be that because he is one that cannot avoid war, and because he is so adept in the ways of war,
right?
He will keep constantly watching the people around him die. And when I say the people around him die, I am not meaning the people like Julian. In some ways, I think Julian will actually outlive him.
I would not be surprised if Julian was the single person that survives this war from the cast.
I would say Julian, is the main person from Yang's perspective side of things.
Sure.
That I think will definitely survive the overarching narrative. But I think that Yang's story will be of one of either a bitter retirement or death.
A cold retirement.
Well, I mean, 6 feet under, basically.
Yep.
But seeing him in this situation where he feels probably just so powerless to do anything here, and yet when people confront him with, "Hey, we want your hot take on this thing," he gives a very simple bit just so that he can leave. I see this aspect of avoidance within him. There was a part that I really, really enjoyed. Where was it here? Where he's asking him the questions about, like, what it'll mean if you go and do these things. And Julian's like, "Why didn't you tell her I came to see you? Why didn't you tell her I came to see you?"
And then he just goes, "Is the tea ready yet?" Which is, that's great, because on so many levels he's avoiding the question with her, and then he's avoiding the question from Julian because he's not answering it,
It's something where you can almost see him being like, I just cannot be bothered to handle that kind of level of stuff right now. I am dealing with so much more. It's the weight of the world on the character that breaks them kind of arc I see him going on. Is that he either becomes even more and more disillusioned with just hope for, the Alliance, or it becomes a thing of where he becomes more and more disillusioned with himself and his ability to actually end up doing anything about this.
Yeah.
So it's just really depressing to see him go through with this, and then the final big moment is almost a little bit of a victory for us as we see that Jessica Edwards wins with a landslide victory.
Yep.
Like, the actual PKC's attack led to this thing going really well. Now, if we want to go big brain here and assume that TrueKnit is really, really wanting this to go a certain way, here's where he could be like actually like Machiavellian moving this. Is that the attack was specifically to kill Thorndyke, because Thorndyke he believed to be an opponent that could go the distance and rally a lot of people there. Maybe Thorndyke had a lot of allies in the whole political sphere of things.
Sure.
Where the council thing that's coming up in like a next episode or what have you.
He didn't want him there for that.
He didn't want him there for that. He wanted someone who was younger, inexperienced, someone that he could maybe manipulate a little bit more easily. And Jessica Edwards is someone that TrueKnit would know is connected to Yang, which means that if he manipulates Jessica, he can manipulate Yang. So there is a way that this is actually all according to Keikaku for TrueKnit, and that freaking job... I have words, but I'll save them for when he's actually on screen.
Because as far as like punchable characters on this show,
TrueKnit is really high up there.
I think TrueKnit is the number one so far. Like,
is he?
Like, I'm trying to think of other ones.
The main Marquis Secretary of State on the Empire
got a
side,
pretty
punchable.
and then Fezzan
he's more
is
sniveling,
punchable as well.
No, Fezzan I actually don't think would be punchable. I think Fezzan is the kind of person you punch him and then suddenly your whole life is ruined. I think.
I'm not talking about. Yeah. There would be all kinds of consequences if you actually did that. Same with TrueKnit.
Well, I think the thing is that like all the other
desire
people,
to punch them.
Right, but I think all the other people would just have you killed. Whereas I would actually like enjoy punching them. But for Fezzan, I feel like he would be the kind of person that would like. Okay, so what's going to happen now is I now own your family. I now own your livelihood. You're going to do these things for me. I'm going to make your life hell. Yeah. And that's what it's going to be.
I'm going to do much worse than kill you, kind of a thing.
Right. And as far as his face being punchable, I'd say it's a little punchable. But he seems actually more like the kind of person who I want to be mugged by all the other heroes and be like, hey, can all of you punch him while I watch with sipping tea? Like,
well... While I watch giggling and eating pork cracklings.
This whole thing here with Greenhill where he's like, invite Admiral Yang to have dinner with us tonight. And then he's like, what? Sorry. He's like, do you have a problem with my daughter? Just the way he went straight to that, I'm like, oh my God. Like, please don't do this. Well, like, I think we're already setting up a little bit of the Yang harem.
Part?
Like,
there's the love triangle part of just in the fact that can cause complications because one, there's someone that's like the whole when you're their superior officer kind of thing that can get weird. I don't know what their regulations are for in the Alliance, but then also just the fact that Jessica, he's very close to her, and she's also getting to the point where she's having a bit more of an influence on potentially what happens.
And they're also having more intimate moments slightly.
Right,
they almost kissed this episode.
Yeah, and Yang seems to be objecting also from the standpoint of I don't want to get into a relationship.
I don't want any kind of intimate, of awkward things to happen.
Certainly not with this person.
With my subordinate.
Yeah.
So the Free Planets Alliance is going to be holding a council. Or no, the Free Planets Alliance High Council would decide on a plan to invade Imperial territory with the Alliance forces. So it is already going to be to in a week's time, meaning that no, Jessica's stuff is not going to influence this. So maybe it didn't. Maybe this wasn't according to Keikaku with regards to TrueKnit. It actually would be kind of cool to showcase that when you militarize a political kind of group of people like this, you can end up having them be so gung-ho that it creates a narrative for the public that works against their actual motivations, because that is a thing that happens, but it is so scary to see in history times where it doesn't matter what public perception is, because quickly the stick is big enough that people don't want to speak out. Essentially, it gets so big and so big of a threat that it overwhelmingly the public doesn't really care what the narrative is. They all go dormant and shut up.
But that's kind of what you have to have it be, because if it's anything short of that, if you think the stick's big enough and turns out it's not, you will get torn down and the way people tend to handle people that try and use that really big stick tends to not be very pretty.
Wait, I think you're off track now. I'm talking about people like TrueKnit weaponizing his civilians
Right,
as the PKC.
Yes, just that. Be careful, because now you're basically putting a giant target on your back if that doesn't end up being enough, and I don't think it will based on how this went. Basically, your days are numbered, Trunit.
Well, Trunit is the antagonist.
Oh, so yeah.
That's guaranteed.
It's going to be very satisfying to see it happen.
But it's not going to be anytime soon.
No, but they're setting the stage
I don't see
for
this.
it.
No, I don't see this as being anything that actually showcases any kind of numbering to Trunit's days. Trunit is, I think, if anything, Trunit will be one of the last vestiges of the Alliance's destructive power hierarchy to go. In some ways, because it will require Yang to almost directly remove, or at the very least have grounds to directly remove him.
Right, because in the situation with, say, Reinhardt, as Reinhardt gets more powerful, well, it's set up to be power that's resting in the hands of one person, pretty much, you know. So the more powerful Reinhardt gets, that transition fits very nicely. Whereas for Yang, because all of this is reluctant, he kind of needs to be forced to do the stuff. So the longer that the power structure remains in place that forces him to do these things, the better for the purpose of the story and causing Yang to keep going.
Yeah. I just don't see this as any really too much of a loss for Trunit if this council went through without a hitch anyway.
That's true.
It means that this was just a small thing for a big city on the Alliance capital planet.
Right. I guess it's just something where it builds up the anticipation for me for when that happens.
Right. I'm definitely experiencing that level of build up as well. I just don't see it as being anywhere near in the future. I feel like Trunit, if anything, would need to be replaced by something or someone.
Like Fejan?
No, Fejan, I feel like, is too much of a fingers in both pies kind of force in the story. Because then if he was brought to that stage, then it would almost unify the Empire and the Alliance in some small way against the Fejan Dominion, which, again, if they're going to do that, I still think that's even, like, if anything, that's even further out.
Right. That's even further. Yeah. Right. That's I guess what I was trying to communicate is that I see this as being the example of why Fejan is going to last longer than Trunit. Because Trunit, he's not as powerful as he thinks he is. He's very powerful, but not.
But he is really powerful.
Stupid powerful.
No, he's literally like cackling in his room, going, "I am the Senate."
Oh yeah.
That is literally him.
But Joffrey can only kill too many random villagers and townspeople and stuff.
Sure. I guess I'm just thinking in terms of not
hungry.
I'm not thinking in terms of power of influence. I'm thinking in terms of power of actual authority. I would say that Fejan in that way is not as strong as Trunit.
Oh,
because
definitely.
he is pushing and pulling,
right?
Whereas just Trunit
can
is
just
the Alliance.
Decide and
then suddenly the Alliance all does a thing,
right?
Eventually,
Yep.
Even if it takes a lot of time or a council vote or something like that. Yeah. We're just showcasing here how brazen he can be, and because he controls, the narrative of it within the Alliance's thing about how we have a duty to avenge the deaths
Long
of...
live the Alliance.
Yeah. Hold on, I got that confused for a second.
Yeah.
We will be the new Empire. We'll do it right this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really good episode, though.
This
lots
is great.
Lots of really, really good stuff.
And I love that they reestablished Jessica into the story post the movies and the beginning of the show and all that stuff, because that's... I was really excited with what they did with her character earlier on, and I'm glad to see that she's back.
Yeah, she's one of the side characters that actually got the most development as far as Yang Reinhardt characters.
And it's another...
And I guess non-Kierheis. That's actually a good point. Kierheis is kind of the Jessica equivalent.
The fan fiction writes itself.
Well, I guess Julian will eventually be kind of the Kierheis equivalent. But for now, it's kind of Jessica.
But that's one of the things that I really like about this is that it's another perspective that's outside of the war.
Yep.
Because like, in the same way that they showed, like, the two gunners at the very beginning, like, because you also have these commanders that control millions of people and all that stuff.
Right.
Showing someone that is on the outside looking in, that's going to be very important as it goes on.
For sure. I also like that this was foreshadowed, and I didn't pick up on it immediately, but I was like, oh, that's right. She was getting the girls from the school who were a part of her movement here.
Yep.
And now we have a little bit of a detail regarding what that movement looks like.
Yep.
So, cool stuff. And I guess we're invading the Empire soon.
We are. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, all kinds of other stuff like that, like Jacob's sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines, and it's pretty awesome. And it also may get into some... well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's cool. And it's on Amazon. Link in the description. Hardback and ebook. Go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.